Okay, I had all some stuff out here, and the tripod was out here, so I will talk about something. I read the other day that the Minnesota National Guard is going to be sending 550 guardsmen to the Middle East for a 10-month deployment, they think. Now, the thing that annoys me, and I've talked about this before, is I feel that the National Guard should be never leaving this country. They shouldn't. It used to be they'd pull that stuff and they'd say, "Well, it was for training," but it really isn't. They're just abusing the Guard. Like if you see recruitment ads for the Guard, which you do see often, it's to protect your community, and for natural disasters and this sort of thing. And then they go and ship them off to the Middle East, um, really making a mess of their lives, and their families' lives. I hate to see them do that, but they've gradually gotten to the point where what should be a state National Guard is being substituted for the Army. Now, I could see in a case like for the border down south, well, yeah, that is a national emergency that I can see that the Guard from here could be sent down there temporarily to patrol the border. That makes sense. You're protecting the nation. Messing around in the Middle East is not protecting this country at all. That's not their purpose. I just hate to see that happen. And I think it's a problem that the governors should be addressing, that they should have more control over what happens to their people. To just grab them and ship them off like that for what they figure is going to be 10 months. And when they get there, they're just going to be bait, kind of. I mean, that's kind of what we got going on there now. We want to start a war with Iran. This has gone on for a long time, even back, well, long time ago, but it became very evident when we took out Soleimani. Now, that was under Trump. He signed off on that. But this was in the works long before Trump was ever around. But that was a mistake. He was very highly thought of. He was an important person. And even after this happened, a lot of people in our State Department were saying, "Why the hell did you do that?" I mean, here was a guy, a very well-liked, moderate sort of guy, who had a moderating influence on some of the real radical wing, and you take him out, and all you did was make more radicals. It was a foolish move. It made no sense, but it alerted Iran to the impossibility of dealing with this, with us on any sensible level. Iran doesn't want war. There's no point in it. But we're going to push them into it. I mean, that's our whole thing there now is we're trying to trick Iran into making the first move so that we can say, "Oh, they started it," but oh man, we started it long ago. It's a sad predicament, but I hate to see our guards people thrown into that mess. They don't belong there. But we continue to do that. You know, I remember when they used to be sending them into Central America, and some of them even ended up in Vietnam. That wasn't the intention of the Guard. That's what it's for. And that is not what these people signed up for. I think they're going to have a hard time getting people to join the Guard now, which is too bad because, I mean, they can, in a natural disaster, they can be really handy to have. Or if there should be an actual problem like on our southern border, it's good to have the Guard. They could do good, but you're going to ruin it by abusing them. Oh well, but that is something, you know. It goes on. I mean, they constantly creep more and more into this until now they just become a tool that they can pull out anytime they want. So, given in that riot situation, and they brought in them guardsmen, and then Pelosi immediately have these people been vetted because she didn't trust the Guard, didn't trust their loyalty, and they dumped a few out because of that, because she didn't like the look of them. And it worries them. You know, our overlords, they don't trust ex-military, and they do not trust the Guard because they are, you know, in theory, there for your community. And the federal government does not care about your community. But it's a shameful thing to do with them. Well, the stuff I was hauling out here, I have a constant problem. Um, you know, everything I do on these motorcycles is kind of a custom one-off sort of deal. I'm generally using these Mikuni carburetors, 36s, 38s, even some 34s. Got a velocity stack for the one. But the problem I run into is cabling. It's hard to find the right cable setup, so I finally got everything I needed so I can make up cables. You know, the cable itself, the outer, and then there's an inner plastic liner, and I got all the ends and stuff, but that's where I needed the silver solder for, was soldering the ends on. You know, Mikuni uses a kind of an odd connector that goes into the throttle body. And I've got to modify some of them. Like when I need to, I actually use an external accelerator pump that Mikuni made that mounts on your float bowl, feeds out of your float bowl, and then there's a nozzle that goes into the carburetor so you can give it a shot of fuel. That takes a split cable, so I have to make up a special cable for that. And I run into problems even with throttles, you know, like a lot of the throttle controls. This one I just picked up, and I kind of like this one. You know, I've had, like, this is it's a K&L, but it's something that is very similar to, there's another model, like Magura makes one similar to this. They're gear driven, so they're a quarter turn to wide open. You know, sometimes you got to turn and then turn some more and then turn a little more. This one, they did it different. I kind of like this design. It's simpler. They've got a pulley in here, so you get that quarter turn without the gear assembly. So we'll see how this works out, but I got to make up a cable to make that function. But I'm glad to see aluminum body. I don't like so many of them now are plastic. That looks good. Well, I'm waiting. The only thing I need, like if you're working with cables, um, the trick is to clip them clean so that you can get there's a little ferrule that's got to go on the end that will be silver soldered on. And if you get frazzly ends, you can't get them on. Well, today in the mail should come a Klein cable cutter that's designed for that, to cut cleanly so that I can start putting cables together. But it's very hard to find a factory cable that's any good or that has the right, like, see, this one is good. This one came from Nietzsche, but it's a Emigo cable. But where it goes into the top of the carburetor, it's got a metal elbow, but it's a short metal elbow. Now, some cables the elbow is too damn long, and it kind of interferes with the frame. But I bought two more of these because I bought one, and I thought, oh man, that one works. Okay, so get the right ones while I can. But even then, like I say, I got to modify to get what I want. But that's for that Klein cutter and the silver solder. And I got a whole pile of the ends and connectors and boots and everything I need to make up what I need. Not only for throttle cable, for the decompressor cable. Rather than try to buy one that works, I can make one that works better. But I feel for them guards people being stuck over there. It screws up their work, screws up their family life, and I'm afraid they're going to be used as bait. Nah, that's the way they do things now. But if you don't realize it, that's all going to come to a head here pretty damn quick. I think the West is falling. If you aren't aware of it, and you probably aren't if you go by regular news, you don't realize just how serious these problems are. But the last thing I wanted to see was the guard being thrown into that mess. That ain't what they signed up for. That is not helping their community. It's really hurting their community. But the governors have got to step up. Take back your guard. Don't let them be federalized like that. But I've talked about it before. Makes no difference. They're going to do what they're going to do until they can't do it anymore. But I think that time is coming. I hope to God.